The rain fell like silver needles over the ancient stone courtyard, each drop echoing against the towering walls of Blackthorn Pack's fortress. Thunder rolled across the mountains, deep and threatening, as if the sky itself sensed what was about to happen. Elara stood in the center of the courtyard, barefoot, shivering, unwanted. Her thin white dress clung to her skin, soaked from the rain, revealing the faint bruises scattered along her arms and collarbone. Some were old and yellowing, others were fresh, dark, and painful, but no one cared. Around her, wolves of the Blackthorn Pack formed a wide circle. Their expressions ranged from pity to disgust to pure indifference, because tonight was the selection night. And Elara was the girl no one wanted. Step forward, the pack beta ordered coldly, his voice cut through the rain like a blade. Elara hesitated, her fingers trembled, not from the cold, from fear. Every year, unmated wolves were presented before visiting alphas and high-ranking warriors from allied packs. Strong females were chosen, quickly valued for power, beauty, or lineage. Elara had none of those things. At least that's what everyone believed. Move, the beta snapped. He grabbed her arm too tightly. Elara flinched as pain shot through her shoulder, but she didn't resist. She had learned long ago that resistance only made things worse. The circle opened, and the humiliation began. One by one, visiting alphas walked past her. They didn't even try to hide their reactions. Too thin, weak aura. She doesn't even smell like a proper wolf. Is she sick? Each word struck harder than any slap. Elara kept her eyes down, always down. If she looked at them, they might see the tears forming, and tears were seen as weakness. Then came the moment that shattered what little dignity she had left. Her own pack leader stepped forward. Alpha Garrick, tall, broad, cold, his voice carried easily across the courtyard. "Take her," he said with a careless shrug. "She's broken." A ripple of laughter moved through the gathered wolves. Elara's chest tightened, broken. The word echoed inside her like a hollow drum. It wasn't new. She had heard it many times before, but tonight it felt final. Like a sentence, like a burial, one of the visiting warriors smirked. Broken things usually don't survive winter. More laughter. Elara's vision blurred. She wanted the ground to open and swallow her. Instead, the air changed. It happened suddenly. Like a storm shifting direction, like the forest itself inhaling. Every wolf froze. Every head turned toward the massive iron gates at the far end of the courtyard. The guards straightened instantly. Then the gates opened slowly, silently, and the moment he stepped inside, the entire world seemed to bow. The Lycan King had arrived. He walked through the rain without a cloak, without armor, without effort. Dark hair brushed his shoulders, damp from the storm, and his presence alone made the air heavier, stronger. Alive with power. Ancient power, dangerous power, predatory power. Whispers spread through the crowd. The Lycan King, why is he here? No one said he was coming. Even Alpha Garrick stiffened. Because everyone knew the truth. Lycans were not ordinary wolves. They were older, stronger, unpredictable. And their king was feared. The Lycan King stopped at the center of the courtyard. Rain rolled down his face, but his golden eyes burned like fire. Then he spoke. Continue. His voice was calm, deep, commanding. It wasn't a request. The beta swallowed hard. Why? Yes, Your Majesty. The selection resumed, but something had changed. The atmosphere was tense now. Sharp, watching. And somehow, the Lycan King's gaze drifted across the gathered females, until it stopped. On Elara, she felt it instantly, like warmth against frozen skin. Her breath caught. Slowly, hesitantly, she lifted her eyes. And for the first time, someone was truly looking at her, not through her, not past her, at her. The world went silent. The rain, the wolves, the whispers, everything disappeared beneath the weight of his gaze. Elara's heart began to race. Why is he looking at me? Panic rose inside her. She quickly lowered her eyes again, but it was too late. He had already seen her. Alpha Garrick noticed, and he laughed, a sharp, mocking sound. Your Majesty, Garrick said casually, stepping forward. Don't waste your time on that one. Elara's stomach dropped. Here it comes, Garrick continued, voice loud enough for everyone to hear. She's useless, weak wolf, no proper shift, fragile body. He shrugged dismissively. Take her if you want, she's broken. The words struck like lightning. The courtyard went quiet again. All eyes moved to the Lycan King, waiting, watching, judging. For a moment, he said nothing. His expression remained unreadable. Then he stepped forward, 1 step, 2, 3. Each movement carried power, authority, inevitable control. Illyra's pulse thundered in her ears as he stopped directly in front of her. She could feel his presence like heat against her skin. Instinct screamed at her to kneel, to hide, to disappear. But before she could move, he gently lifted his hand. Not to hurt her, not to command, but to tilt her chin upward. His touch was warm, careful, shockingly gentle. Illyra froze, her eyes widened. No one had ever touched her like that before. Not without pain, not without force. But his touch didn't hurt. It steadied her. His golden gaze moved slowly across her face, then to the bruises along her collarbone. The warmth in his eyes darkened, not with anger toward her, with something far more dangerous, rage. The air shifted again. The temperature seemed to drop. The Lycan King's voice came low and controlled. Who did this? Illyra's breath trembled. She didn't answer. She couldn't. Fear locked her voice inside her throat. Behind them, Alpha Garrick chuckled. She's clumsy. That was the wrong answer. The Lycan King turned his head slightly, and the entire courtyard felt it. The shift, the danger, the storm, because his voice, when he spoke again, was no longer calm. It was lethal. She's not broken. Silence fell, complete, absolute. Then he looked back at Illyra, and something changed in his expression. The rage softened, replaced by something deeper, something older, something protective. He spoke quietly. But every wolf heard it. She doesn't need fixing. A pause, a breath, a promise. She needs love. The words shattered the night. Before anyone could react, before Alpha Garrick could even process what had just happened, the Lycan King reached for Illyra's hand and claimed her. I'm taking her. Gasps exploded across the courtyard. Alpha Garrick stepped forward instantly. Your Majesty, she has no value. The Lycan King didn't even look at him. He simply spoke, and the ground itself seemed to obey. She does now. Illyra's heart stopped, then began beating again faster than ever, because for the first time in her life, someone had chosen her. And she didn't understand why, but something deep inside her, something hidden, something sleeping, had just begun to awaken. And the Lycan King had felt it. *** Part 2. The king who chose the broken girl, *** the courtyard, remained frozen long after the Lycan King spoke. Rain continued to fall, but no one moved, no one breathed, because what had just happened was impossible. The Lycan King, ruler of the most powerful Lycan bloodline, had just claimed the weakest girl in the entire Blackthorn pack. Illyra herself still couldn't process it. His hand was wrapped around hers, warm, strong, protective. It felt unreal, like a dream she was afraid to wake from. Alpha Garrick recovered first. Shock twisted into irritation, then into forced politeness. Your Majesty, he said carefully, stepping forward. Perhaps you misunderstood. The girl has never fully shifted. Her wolf is unstable. The Lycan King turned. Just slightly, but the movement alone silenced him. Golden eyes met Garrick's, predator to prey. The air tightened. Are you questioning my decision? The words were calm, but the power behind them crushed the courtyard into silence. Garrick's throat moved as he swallowed. No, Your Majesty. But his eyes flickered toward Illyra with resentment. Like she had just stolen something. Illyra lowered her gaze again. Fear tried to crawl back into her chest. But the Lycan King's grip tightened gently, as if sensing it, as if grounding her, as if reminding her, you're safe. The realization confused her even more. Safe, she didn't know what that felt like. The Lycan King spoke again. She leaves tonight. Murmurs erupted. Tonight, so soon. Illyra's head snapped up in surprise. Leave? Her heart began to race again, this time for a different reason. She had spent her entire life inside these walls. Even if they had never felt like home, now she was leaving with a stranger, a king, a predator, a Lycan. Fear mixed with something else, something new, hope. *# The walk through the storm, the selection ended instantly. No one dared continue after the Lycan King made his choice. Servants rushed to prepare the royal convoy waiting beyond the gates. Torches flickered in the rain as warriors moved quickly, silently, efficiently. Illyra stood beside him, unsure what to do. What to say, what to feel. Her soaked dress clung to her skin, making her painfully aware of how small she looked beside him. He noticed, of course he did. Without a word, he removed his cloak. Dark, heavy, warm, he placed it gently over her shoulders. The scent of forest rain and wild power surrounded her instantly. It was the first time in years she felt protected. Illyra's fingers clutched the cloak. Thank you, she whispered. Her voice was soft, fragile, like glass. The Lycan King studied her for a moment, not judging, not dismissing, observing, understanding. You're cold. It wasn't a question. She nodded slightly, but the truth was she wasn't cold anymore. Not really. A dangerous silence. They began walking toward the gates. The entire Blackthorn pack stepped aside to make a path. No one spoke, but Illyra could feel their eyes. Their whispers, their disbelief. She kept her gaze forward, until a voice cut through the rain. Wait. Illyra froze. Her stomach dropped. She knew that voice. Alpha Garrick. The Lycan King stopped slowly, deliberately. Then turned. Garrick approached with a tight smile, but his eyes were sharp, calculating. There is one matter left, he said. Pack law requires a transfer mark when a female leaves under royal claim. Illyra's breath caught. Transfer mark. Her pulse spiked with panic. That meant pain. It always meant pain. The Lycan King's gaze hardened. What kind of mark? Garrick gestured to the beta. The man stepped forward holding a ceremonial dagger. Its silver edge glinted under the torchlight. Illyra instinctively stepped back. Her body remembered. The punishments, the cuts, the discipline, fear flooded her chest. But before she could retreat further, the Lycan King moved. He stepped in front of her, blocking her completely, shielding her. No. The single word carried absolute authority. Garrick blinked. Your Majesty, it is only tradition. I said no. The rain seemed to grow heavier. The silence deeper, the danger sharper. The Lycan King's voice dropped, cold, controlled, terrifying. No one touches her. The beta immediately lowered the dagger. Garrick forced a laugh, of course, as you wish. But something dark flickered in his expression. Something resentful, something angry. The Lycan King noticed. Illyra didn't, but she would soon. The royal carriage beyond the gates waited, a massive black carriage, surrounded by Lycan warriors. Not wolves, Lycans. Their presence felt different, older, more powerful. They bowed the moment their king approached. Illyra, the Lycan King said softly. It was the first time he spoke her name. Her heart skipped. Yes, Your Majesty. His expression shifted slightly. Less formal, less distant. Call me Kale. The name settled into her chest like warmth. Kale. She hesitated. Okay, a small pause, then quietly, Kale. Something unreadable flickered in his eyes, approval, relief. Maybe both. He opened the carriage door, but Illyra didn't move, because doubt suddenly hit her, hard. What if, she whispered. Kale waited, patient, gentle. What if I really am broken? The words hurt more than any bruise, because they were the truth she had lived with her entire life. Kale stepped closer, close enough that the world faded again. Close enough that she could feel his warmth even through the rain. His voice was low, steady, certain. You're not broken. Illyra's eyes lifted slowly. Golden met silver, power met fear, and something deeper began to form. Something dangerous, something beautiful. You were just never loved correctly. The words shattered something inside her. Not painfully, but softly, like chains falling apart. Tears filled her eyes before she could stop them. Kale noticed. He didn't look away. He didn't pretend not to see. Instead, he wiped one tear gently from her cheek. No more pain, he said quietly, I promise. And for the first time, Illyra believed someone, but neither of them knew. Back inside the fortress, Alpha Garrick stood at the highest balcony, watching the carriage disappear into the storm. His expression twisted with fury. Find out what she is hiding. He growled to the beta. Because no Lycan King chooses a weak wolf without a reason. Lightning flashed, and far away inside the moving carriage, Elira suddenly felt a strange warmth spread through her chest. A glow, a pulse, a power. Her wolf was waking up. *** Part 3. The wolf that refused to wake ***. The royal carriage moved through the storm like a shadow gliding across the mountains. Inside, everything was quiet, too quiet. Elira sat across from Kale, her hands resting nervously in her lap. The cloak he had given her still carried his scent: wild forest, rain, and something deeper, something ancient. She kept stealing small glances at him, then quickly looking away, because every time their eyes almost met, her heart began to race. Kale, however, was watching her, carefully, not in a way that made her uncomfortable, but in a way that felt protective. Observant, like he was trying to understand her. The lantern hanging inside the carriage swayed gently, casting warm golden light across his sharp features. Finally he spoke. Your wolf reacted. Elira blinked. What? Kale leaned back slightly, though his gaze remained steady. In the courtyard, Elira froze, her fingers tightened. I don't think so. Kale didn't argue, but he didn't agree either. Instead, he asked quietly, when was the last time you felt her? The word alone made Elira's chest tighten. Her wolf, the one everyone said was weak, broken. Wrong. Elira looked down. I don't know. The confession came out barely above a whisper. Kale waited, patient, gentle, the way no one had ever been with her before. Memories began to surface. Painful ones. I was 10, she said slowly. That was the first time I tried to shift. Thunder rolled outside as the carriage continued through the dark mountain road. Elira's voice trembled. Everyone else had already started hearing their wolves, but mine was silent. Her fingers tightened around the fabric of the cloak. So the elders said I needed encouragement. Kale's expression darkened slightly. What kind of encouragement? Elira hesitated. Fear still lived inside her, even now, even with him. But something in his eyes told her the truth was safe here. So she whispered, they locked me in the training pit. Silence filled the carriage, heavy, dangerous. Elira continued, no food, no water, just me and the cold stone. Kale didn't move, but the air inside the carriage changed. The temperature seemed to drop, not from weather, from him. They said fear forces the wolf to awaken. Her voice cracked. But she never came. The words fell apart, just like she had back then. I waited 3 days. The carriage suddenly felt too small, too quiet, too heavy with memory. And when nothing happened, Elira swallowed hard. They said I was broken. Silence. Complete, absolute. Kale's hands slowly curled into fists. The wood beneath his fingers creaked, not loudly. But enough, Elira noticed, and panic instantly returned. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. You have nothing to apologize for. His voice was calm. But underneath, something dangerous moved, something ancient, something furious. The carriage rolled forward through the storm. But inside, a storm of a different kind had begun. The king's rage. Kale turned toward the window. Dark mountains passed under flashes of lightning. But he wasn't seeing the landscape. He was seeing a little girl, alone, hungry, terrified, locked in stone darkness. Waiting for a wolf that had never been allowed to wake. The realization hit him hard. This wasn't weakness. This was suppression. Someone hadn't just neglected her wolf. They had buried it. And suddenly everything made sense. The faint aura, the unstable energy, the hidden power he had felt the moment he entered the courtyard. Not broken, sealed. Kale's golden eyes darkened. Did they ever try again? He asked quietly. Elira shook her head. No, a small, bitter smile touched her lips. They said it wasn't worth wasting resources. The words struck deeper than any blade. Kale turned back toward her, and this time his gaze was different, not just protective, not just gentle. Determined. Look at me, Elira. She hesitated, then slowly lifted her eyes. Silver met gold again. And something inside her chest warmed instantly. Your wolf isn't broken. The certainty in his voice made her breath catch. She's sleeping. Elira blinked. Sleeping, the idea felt impossible. Fragile, hopeful, dangerous. But why? Kale leaned forward slightly. Because now he was sure of what he had sensed, sure of what he had felt, sure of what the storm itself had reacted to. Because she's not just a wolf. Silence fell. Illyra's heartbeat quickened. What does that mean? Kale studied her for a long moment, then spoke carefully. Have you ever noticed anything strange? Illyra froze. Her fingers tightened. Yes, but she had never told anyone, because every time something unusual happened, someone got hurt. Lightning flashed outside and memories returned, glass cracking without being touched, torches flickering when she cried, the ground trembling when she was afraid. Illyra's breathing grew uneven. I thought I was imagining things. Kale's voice softened. You weren't. The carriage suddenly jolted as thunder exploded directly overhead. Illyra flinched. Instinctively, she grabbed his arm. The moment her fingers touched him, the air inside the carriage pulsed. A soft silver glow flickered beneath her skin, then vanished. Both of them saw it. Both of them froze. Illyra pulled her hand back instantly. I'm sorry, but Kale wasn't listening, because his heart had just confirmed what his instincts already knew. The power inside her was real, and it was rare, dangerously rare. His voice dropped to a whisper. Moonborn. Illyra blinked. What? Kale didn't answer immediately. Because if he was right, this wasn't just about a suppressed wolf. This was about something far bigger. Something ancient. Something that hadn't appeared in centuries. And if others discovered it, Illyra wouldn't just be unwanted anymore. She would be hunted. Kale made a decision in that moment. One that would change both their lives. He looked at her again. Gentle, certain, protective. You're safe with me. Illyra didn't fully understand why those words mattered so much. But they did, because something inside her, something buried for years, was finally beginning to breathe. Outside the carriage, the storm intensified. Far behind them, in the Blackthorn territory, Alpha Garrick stood before a robed witch. Her eyes glowed faintly violet as she stared into a bowl of silver water. The liquid began to ripple, then shine, then glow. The witch's expression slowly changed, from curiosity to shock to fear. She's not broken. The witch whispered. Garrick frowned. Then what is she? The witch lifted her gaze, and the storm outside answered for her. She's Moonborn. Lightning shattered the sky, and somewhere deep inside the moving carriage, Illyra's wolf finally opened her eyes.